Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Racha Kodesh. Double honors to the elders and the apostles of Great Millstone, and peace and blessings to the elect. And today we're going to go into the book of 1 Samuel, the 24th chapter. And as we left off in the 23rd chapter, as David and his men were hiding, you had the inhabitants, I believe it was Ziph, that went to basically snitch on David, to where Saul pursued him heavily. And at the very last minute, right before catching him, the Lord had the Philistines invade Israel, and Saul had to call back his men. So here we are in 1 Samuel 24, verse 1. And it came to pass, when Saul was returned from following the Philistines, that it was told him, saying, Behold, David is in the wilderness of En-gedi. So Saul basically had informants all over, right? And after he had withdrew to go after the Philistines, once he was done, he got word that David is now in En-gedi, or En-gedi. Then Saul took 3,000 chosen men out of all Israel, and went to seek David and his men upon the rocks of the wild goats, which was like the cavey-like areas where they were dwelling. And he came to the sheepcotes by the way, which is like the sheep pen or sheepfold, a holding place where they had the sheep. And where was a cave, and Saul went in to cover his feet. And this covering his feet is a euphemism for he went to basically ease himself or to use the bathroom in the cave. And if you just type it in here, cover feet, euphemism. Euphemism is like a saying. The euphemism cover feet most commonly refers to relieving oneself of bodily waste and is used in the Bible, such as the case of King Saul entering a cave to cover his feet. In some contexts, feet can also be a euphemism for genitalia, although the usage varies depending on the specific biblical passage and requires careful interpretation based on context. So Saul goes into the cave to go ease himself. And David and his men remained in the sides of the cave. So he wasn't aware that David and his men were hiding in that same cave. And the men of David said unto him, Behold, the day of which the Lord said unto thee, Behold, I will deliver thine enemy into thine hand, that thou mayest do to him as it shall seem good unto thee. So they were basically telling him, look, the Lord, the Lord is finally giving you a chance to go ahead and take him out. That's your enemy right there. And he's vulnerable. You're not gonna get him in a more vulnerable time than this. Imagine this: he's halfway in the middle of his process of easing himself. How much more vulnerable can you be? Then David arose and cut off the skirt of Saul's robe privately, and the skirt meaning like the hem or the edge. And it came to pass that afterward, that David's heart smote him, because he had cut off Saul's skirt, so he couldn't do it. His conscience was bothering him. And he said unto his men, The Lord Yahweh forbid that I should do this thing unto my master, the Lord's anointed, to stretch forth mine hand against him, seeing he is the anointed of the Lord. No. And David feared, and that showed the fear that David had of the Lord as well, because looking at Saul as a man, he was wicked. But David feared because he was still one that the Lord had chosen to be anointed. Okay, and that very fact alone, David feared greatly. All right, and also realizing that he himself had been anointed, right, of the Lord. And so in David's mind, he knew he wouldn't be innocent, at least in his mind, that had he done that. And so he said, no, we can't do that. So David stayed his servants with these words, and suffered them not to rise against Saul. So he basically held them back, and nobody harmed Saul. But Saul rose up out of the cave and went on his way. So he finished his thing and he left. David also rose afterward and went out of the cave and cried after Saul, saying, My lord the king. So after Saul left, being that, remember, David and his men were also in the cave, David follows after Saul and calls him. And when Saul looked behind him, David stooped with his face to the earth and bowed himself. And David said to Saul, Wherefore hearest thou men's words, saying, Behold, David seeketh thy hurt? So why are you basically giving in to these lies that people are telling you, as if, basically whispering into your ear that I'm after you, right? Or I'm trying to kill you. Behold, this day thine eyes have seen how the Lord Yahweh had delivered thee today into mine hand in the cave. And some bade me kill thee, but mine eye spared thee. And I said, I will not put forth mine hand against my Lord, for he is the Lord's anointed. So you are a witness today, right? I just came out the same cave you came out, and I had the advantage over you. I was right there. I could have killed you. Okay. And even some of my men, encouraged, they were like, yo, just, they wanted to. But the spirit was on me to spare your life, right? Because I'm not, I wasn't going to put my hand on the Lord's anointed. Moreover, my father, see the skirt of thy robe in my hand. So here's the proof. This, look, you can even, check your garment and see this. I cut this from off that. Right? Know thou and see that there is neither evil. Oh, actually, Slaki, it says, see the skirt of thy robe in my hand, for in that I cut off the skirt of thy robe and killed thee not. So I was that close, right? I was close enough to cut off a piece of your garment, and I could have killed you right then and there, but I didn't. Know thou and see that there is neither evil nor transgression in mine hand, for I have not sinned against thee, yet thou huntest my soul to take it. So you chasing me all over the land, and I haven't done anything wrong to you. The Lord Yahweh judge between me and thee, and the Lord avenge me of thee, but mine hand shall not be upon thee. So may the Lord be judge between us, and may he avenge me, but I'm not going to be the one to kill you or to put my hand on you. As saith the proverb of the ancients, wickedness proceedeth from the wicked, but mine hand shall not be upon thee. So as the saying goes, right, it's another way of saying this, as the saying goes, wickedness comes from the wicked, right? Wicked people do wicked things. And I'm not going to do that. After whom is the king of Israel come out? After whom dost thou pursue? After a dead dog? After a flea? So in other words, you coming out as though like I'm some threat. I'm some, some major hotshot. I'm nothing. Like, to be honest, I'm like onto a flea, right? Like, I'm not worth the time for you to be doing all this. That's the point David is making here. You bring in armies and the troops and all that, surrounding cities and so on and so forth, all for a man that's all for a man that's not even after you. Verse 15, the Lord Yahweh therefore be judge, and judge between me and thee, and see, and plead my cause, and deliver me out of thine hand. So as David said here, he basically left it up to the Lord, all right, that the Lord would judge his case, and he wouldn't take matters into his own hand. And it came to pass when David had made an end of speaking these words unto Saul, that Saul said, Is this thy voice, my son David? So is that really you, David? And Saul lifted up his voice and wept. And he said to David, Thou art more righteous than I, for thou hast rewarded me good, whereas I have rewarded thee evil. And thou hast shewed this day how that thou hast dealt well with me, for as much as when the Lord had delivered me into thine hand, thou killedest me not. So I was there. The Lord gave me into your hand, and even then you didn't kill me. And all this while I've been trying to take your life. For if a man find his enemy, will he let him go well away? I mean, and that's a good question, right? Like, generally speaking, if you come across one that's trying to kill you, who does that, right? Generally, people don't do that. You don't let your enemies just get away. Wherefore the Lord reward thee good for that, thou hast done unto me this day. And now behold, I know well that thou shalt surely be king, and that the kingdom of Israel shall be established in thine hand. So damn, yeah, even Saul confessing and acknowledging that. And that goes to show you, because that's why the scriptures say that you heap coals of fire upon his head. Because at this point, Saul was like, he was cut, and that cut was deeper than it would have been of David's physical blade. Because at this point, it's something that stays right on the conscience of the person. You can't escape your own thoughts. You can't escape your own conscience. So, and when your own conscience condemns you, that's one of the most, inescapable, sharpest cuts. Verse 21, swear now therefore unto me by the Lord that thou wilt not cut off my seed after me, and that thou wilt not destroy my name out of my father's house. So Saul basically acknowledged that he feared, because he knew that the Lord was going to translate the kingdom onto David. And so now, having acknowledged that, he basically asked David to swear, knowing that when David became king, he wouldn't cut off the seed of Saul. And David sware unto Saul, and Saul went home. But David and his men gat them up onto the hold. So they went back to their stronghold, or the place which they were hiding. And that brings us to the end of 1 Samuel, the 24th chapter. Lord willing, this was edifying to the elect. In closing, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham Yahushai, Bahasham Ruach HaKodesh. And until next time, Shalom.